Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiravet. Before reciting this Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Sarasvati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayesh abhadresu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatyutama sloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Now, we will begin the reading today with Canto 2, Chapter 5, Text 4. Yad Vijnano, Yad Adaro, Yad Parastam, Yad Atmaka, Eka Shri Jasi Bhutani, Bhutar et Evatma Mayaya. The translation. My dear Father, what is the source of your knowledge? Under whose protection are you standing? And under whom are you working? What is your real position? Do you alone create all entities with material elements by your personal energy? Now, this is the purport by Srila Prabhupada. It was known to Sri Narada Muni that Lord Brahma attained creative energy by undergoing severe austerities. As such, he could understand that there was someone else superior to Brahmaji who invested Brahma with the power of creation. Therefore, he asked all the above questions. Discoveries of progressive scientific achievements are therefore not independent. The scientist has to attain the knowledge of a thing already existing by means of the wonderful brain made by someone else. A scientist can work with the help of such an awarded brain, but it is not possible for the scientist to create his own or a similar brain. Therefore, no one is independent in the matter of any creation, nor is such creation automatic. So, getting back to the verse again, the verse is basically a series of questions. My dear Father, what is the source of your knowledge? Under whose protection are you standing? And under whom are you working? What is your real position? Do you alone create all entities with material elements by your personal energy? So here we are. We have Narada Muni, asking Brahma, who is basically the creator in the sense of making all of the creation manifest. Okay, but we know, or he knows, or it must be obvious that there must be somebody, something, some power behind Brahma. That's why he's asking him all of these questions. Well, what is the source of your knowledge? I mean, we want to get all the way back to, what is God? Who created? What is the source of the knowledge? Under whose protection? For whom are you working? Who gave you these instructions? What is your position in all of this? He really wants to know all of these things. So he's made this series of questions, and which I imagine will follow a series of answers, which we're all quite excited to to arrive to. And but having said that, being that there's basically the only other thing that sticks out to me here is the idea about the scientist having to attain the knowledge of a thing already existing by by accepting a pre-approved fact, or pre-proven. Something has got to be, as we were speaking last week, that there has to be a little bit of faith behind everything, in order to get started. So, the question being whether or not something really has got to be proven on its own. And here, Prabhupada is saying, no, we're going to start with some assumptions given to us by, by our teachers in our lineage. And having said all that, now I open up for discussion. Lavanga, would you like to add something first, Mother Lavanga?
Yeah, I can say a few points and then I'll let others speak here. I find it very nice in this purport. It said that it's known to Sri Narada Muni that Lord Brahma attained creative energy by undergoing severe austerities. So then, naturally that leads to the question, why was he undergoing severe austerities? It indirectly implies that Lord Brahma can't be the source of everything, that there has to be some sort of purpose. And this is an interesting section of the Bhagavatam because normally we see Narada Muni in the position of teacher. If some of you have read the first canto, you see that Narada Muni, he begins actually by instructing Vyasadeva, who's morose. And then later we see him instructing Dhruva Maharaj. And then we see him instructing Daksha, and so forth and so forth. And then we also see him instructing the mother of, we see him instructing Prahlad Maharaj through his mother. And so this is the one section of the Bhagavatam that we see that Narada Muni, he's not teaching, rather he's inquiring. So it's said that one who has heard nicely, they can speak nicely. So Narada Muni here is getting this knowledge from Lord Brahma, and he's asking these basic questions, about the source of creation and what's behind it all, because he can tell that there's got to be something else, because we know that Lord Brahma, when he woke up from the lotus flower, he was bewildered. It was dark. He didn't know what was going on, and by his own endeavor, he tried to go down into the stem of the lotus flower to find the source of it, but he couldn't find the source of it. So then he comes back up and he just begins to meditate. And then that's when he hears the pa. Oh, wait. Sorry. I lost my train of thought there because I saw Manath Maharaj put something. So anyway, um, so he hears the word tapa, and then from his doing his austerities, then later we know, long story short, Krishna comes down and Krishna gives him knowledge for how to create this universe. So Prabhupada is again making the point in this purport that he's comparing it to the scientists. They're saying that the scientist, the scientist has to attain knowledge of a thing already existing by means of the wonderful brain made by somebody else. So science has made many wonderful discoveries, and they have some knowledge, but how they're getting that knowledge is from the elements already existing. So it reminds me of the time that somebody asked me, well, if you need life to create life, what about clones? And I thought about that for a second. And even the process of creating clone You're using life to create that other life. The clone is not coming from something non-existent. So, Prabhupada makes this point over and over again, as we are going to see in the Bhagavatam, that ultimately Krishna is the source of all these things. And he is indirectly doing the creation and the manifestation through the agents known as the demigods. And this is to help us understand when we get to the 10th canto and we hear about Krishna stealing butter, and we hear about Krishna dancing with the gopis, and we hear about Krishna, killing various demons. When we see this little cute baby Krishna, we understand that he's not an ordinary being. So now we're on Canto 2. So throughout this chapter, we're going to hear Lord Brahma ultimately explain how Krishna is the source of all this manifestation. And I looked before this class. I was going to send this to you guys actually, and I didn't have time, so I'm going to send it to you after the class. I was looking at an overview of the chapter, and it lays out very clearly the questions that Narada Muni asked Lord Brahma and what's discussed in this chapter. So it'll be a little bit more organized for you guys, because I think texts 1 through 8, we deal with these questions of Narada Muni, if I'm not mistaken. And then we get into Lord Brahma's answers and how he answers each of these questions. So with that said, I could go on, but I want to leave some time for other people to make some comments. So that's all I'll say for the moment.
Are there more comments? Abby or Amy? Do you have comments, Abby?
Oh, I'm just listening right now. Hare Krishna. Maybe I'll have something later to add.
How about you, Amy?
Hare Krishna, all the glories to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. I just wanted to address some points that you both have already addressed. And yes, I noticed also that now Narada Muni is the Shisha and he's inquiring from Lord Brahma. And it's nice thing to notice that the student becomes the teacher, and that the teacher was also once a student. It is a beautiful relationship. So I also noticed the scientists and how they're working with the help of a privileged brain, right? And it's not possible for the scientist to create his own or similar brain. And Lavanga Devidasi was speaking about the clones, and before she started speaking, I was thinking about that, about the case
We
that
lost the sound. Okay.
sorry, about the first case of the sheep that was cloned, and actually the sheep died. And it made me think, like, the clone, obviously the clone died. And there have been many other attempts, I'm pretty sure. And there are other things that they're trying to do, like growing organs and things like that, which advances might be interesting for science, also for people that have a difficulty getting transplants whenever that is done. I don't know what is the position of the philosophy in that sense, but um, what I was thinking was actually that I think the Bhagavad Gita speaks of I think it's chapter 15, because that chapter has been very relevant for me this past month. I think it speaks about the banyan tree and how the spiritual world and the material world is a reflection of the spiritual world, and how it's not really an accurate reflection, more and more like a distorted reflection of the spiritual world, and how here there's this suffering and death and sickness and all that, which is not accurate doesn't happen that way in the spiritual world. So what makes me think about that is that when the scientists try to clone, like the sheep example, it's kind of like a distorted version of the reality of the real creation of the Lord. Basically, is kind of what I was thinking. And yes, also these things about creating, like, I don't know, in vitro fertilization or artificial insemination, those things are things that I think about, which in my position, naturally, I'm a very natural person. I think this is my position, obviously, that if the Lord wants us to have children, He'll provide that at some point. I don't have anything against the people who do that. Obviously, that's everybody's prerogative. I'm very respectful of that. But in my case, I wish to have the child naturally if I were to have children, for example. And just that sometimes it seems like scientists try to play God a little bit. And there's a very thin line that could be offensive with what they do, even if there are a lot of things that advances in science are obviously very helpful. That was my comment. Thank you so much.
Well, very interesting. Is there any response to that comment? Or I want to be sure to welcome Mataji Madhuri, because I don't believe I've seen her here before. So Hare Krishna and welcome to our discussion group.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Yeah, last time I was there, but yeah, I was not
Okay.
on the video, but yeah,
Okay.
happy
Okay.
to listen everyone. Just
Okay.
yeah, this is my second class. Yeah, hope to join,
Okay.
continue further.
Great. Well, feel free to add your comments at any time. Just raise your hand, or yeah.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Lavanga, were you going to respond to that?
Yeah, I just had a thought because Amy said how scientists try to play God a little bit. And I was having this realization about how that is true this week. Seeing that they have all these scientific advancements for keeping the body alive, like for resuscitating the body, life support and things like this. But you notice, like, they might be able to artificially keep the body alive by various means. Like if somebody is deathly ill, or a lot of times you'll see this, like people are in accidents and they're kind of like technically dead, but there's like a machine keeping them alive. So it's like technically the body is alive, but there's no action. There's nothing really going on. And so from that, I realized that no matter how good science gets at something, they can never really do it as perfectly as Krishna can. Yes, you're able to save somebody's life under a certain circumstance, but is that really beneficial? It's like they're there, but they're not there. It's like they're not able to be active. And then also, with what you were saying about the growing the organs and the transplants and stuff, I read about this case where they tried to do this heart transplant on this one individual, and they lived for a short amount of time, but not very long. They eventually died. Which we see that when they do these transplants with real human hearts that can't be created by science, there's a much greater chance of the entity living for a long time, and in some cases able to live out a full life. Like I had an uncle that had a heart transplant, and he was able to live for many, 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 many years after this heart transplant. But the actual heart itself, it can't be created, and it can't be, like by science itself. Science can only use it for this and for that. So really, Krishna is going back to showing us that Krishna is the perfect creator, and the perfect maintainer. It's like and it goes back to what Prabhupada says. He makes this point several times about how the six opulences of Krishna, and one of them is all knowledge, and how we can have some knowledge, but we can't have all the knowledge. And so we can see how this plays out in the real world. It's like we can have some knowledge for how to do these things, but we can't have like the complete knowledge. We can't do it exactly well. But if we're not careful, we can get these egos thinking, oh, we're making all these advances. And there's even this guy out there, maybe you guys have heard of him, who he was in the news and he's been on like social media. He's got his own YouTube videos about how he plans to never die. You've seen this, and he's like, and he's doing all of these things to like, okay, this is how I'm going to cheat death. This is how I'm going to ultimately live forever, you know. And he thinks he's going to eliminate aging. And if you look at him, by the way, he doesn't look good. He looks kind of horrible. But
Yeah, he's tried so many things that he almost died once, trying one of those like um something happened to his face, like it blew up, it like kind of um how do I say swelled. It swelled
so yeah,
up. Yeah, yeah. He was really scared. I think he was probably going to die. But he tries a lot of different things. That's crazy. Yeah.
yeah, and it's ultimately trying to cheat the laws of nature. I mean, this material world, it has laws to it. We're all embodied, and this body undergoes, six changes. It's born, it grows, it maintains for some time, it produces, it dwindles, and then it ultimately dies. Out of all the things people have tried throughout the centuries, before we had modern technology, we had, spells and yogis and things like this, and that still exists, but, people have tried throughout the ages, but no one has been successful in cheating this one thing. And that is because that's the laws of nature, that no matter how smart we get, we're still going to be dependent on these laws. And so, Prabhupada would say, these are the actual real problems of life. That you have to accept birth, that you have to accept death, that you have to accept old age, that you have to accept disease. I mean, we cure one disease, and then another one comes. Just like the flu epidemic came in the 1920s, and then we got better at treating that, even though still people die of that. And then COVID comes along. You know, and then whether you want to believe that that's COVID or that's really another type of the flu, whatever. But the point is that it was something different that people couldn't treat so well. And then new strands of bacteria, new viruses, these bacteria that these antibiotics are resistant to. So we get very intelligent at curing one thing. We think, oh yes, now we're good. But then something else will come up because these are the laws of nature that you can't eliminate unless you ultimately escape this material manifestation. Anyway, so that was kind of a long comment. I apologize, but yeah, that was just some realization I got from hearing Amy's comment.
Okay, that's okay. Although we should try to stick as close to interpretation of the actual text as possible, but it's okay if it reminds us of things and we go off on a tangent. And I must say that the whole discussion even brings to my mind an additional question, which I may like to pose at some moment, but because it says here at the end of the purport that therefore no one is independent in the matter of any creation, nor is such creation automatic. So it makes me wonder, aren't the clones actually also created by God, by Krishna? I mean, even the fact that they can exist and do exist, aren't they also a part of Krishna's creation? Whether we think it's natural or it should be or it shouldn't be, it's still all part of something that Krishna created. I mean, this world exists, everything, positive and negative, all things exist, and all are come from the source. So so that's kind of a last little aside,
That's
personal aside.
interesting. That's also very deep.
But I don't think we can get into that. Maybe we can have a discussion with Maharaj at some point on that topic. But I think if there aren't any more specifics to this text, we should go on to the next text. Is there, Madhuri, are you about to say something? I see your hand forward. No? And back to Rich, do you have anything to add?
No, not really, Mataji. Thank you, Yamuna, Davidasi.
Well, we're so pleased to have you here, even if you're just listening for a while, and I'm sure you'll have something to add to make the conversation more interesting at some moment.
Thank you.
So, yes. So we can go on to text 5, and if Abby is able, she could read it. Otherwise, I'll ask Mother Lavanga to read it. Are you there, Abby?
Yes, I'm here. Hare Krishna. You want
Would,
to just go on to text 5, you said?
yes, yes, please. Thank you.
Okay. Atman bhavaya setani napara bhavayan swayam Atma shaktim avashtabhya Nabir eva klamaha. As the spider very easily creates the network of its cobweb and manifests its power of creation without being defeated by others, so also you yourself, by employment of your self-sufficient energy, create without any other's help. Paperport. The best example of self-sufficiency is the sun. The sun does not require to be illuminated by any other body. Rather, it is the sun which helps all other illuminating agents. For in the presence of the sun, no other illuminating agent becomes prominent. Narada compared the position of Brahma to the self-sufficiency of the spider, who creates its own field of activities without any other's help by employment of its own energetic creation of saliva. Okay.
Perhaps just reread the text another time, and maybe you can be the first to offer some insights.
Um, as the spider very easily creates the network of its cobweb and manifests its power of creation without being defeated by others, so also you yourself, by employment of your self-sufficient energy, create without any other's help. I'm sorry, I don't have anything to say. It's a short one.
Okay, well, I open it up for anybody else who may have some comments. We could start with Amy or Madhuri if you have any comments. Otherwise, Lavanga always has comments.
Well, I can comment that the best example of self-sufficiency is the sun. The sun does not require to be illuminated by any other body. Rather, it is the sun that illuminates, and all the other planets or bodies that shine, right, have received the illumination of the sun. And that is why Savitur is like the sun, right? And also Krishna is like the sun. And Krishna is the one that illuminates everything for us. In the form also of Rama. Rama is I think the avatar of the sun. And it's Ram Navami soon enough this week, I think on Thursday. So what I didn't understand very much, and if you could help me here, is it says Narada compared the position of Brahma to the self-sufficiency of the spider, who creates its own field of activities without any other's help by employment of its own energetic creation of saliva. Because I was thinking about the web creation, right, of the spider, but I didn't understand that last part. So if you could help me with that, I would appreciate it.
I can say something. Okay. So, this Narda comparing Brahma to the spider. So the spider creates its own field of activities without others' help by employment of its own energetic creation of saliva. So the spider, when it's creating its own web, that web is coming from the spider itself, right? It's not from any other external thing. And so this is kind of going back to Narda's other question where he's asking about the source of creation. Because seemingly it can appear that Brahma is doing everything. Because he's arranging the universe and arranging all these material elements. It's not necessarily obvious that Krishna is behind it. So in the same way, it's not obvious that, okay, we see the spider creating a web by itself. But for those who are a little bit intelligent and they've studied, you know that the source of that energy comes from Krishna. But the spider looks like, okay, it's doing it on its own. So in the same way, Brahma, you know, because he's arranging everything so expertly, it looks like he's doing it on his own. That he alone is the creator. So people have even said to me in other Hindu backgrounds, why do you worship Krishna if Brahma is the creator? And if he is the one that has created this material manifestation. And you know, maybe they haven't read Bhagavad Gita where Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matav sarvam pravartate. You know, that the one verse I quoted last week. I am the source of everything. And later it goes on to explain in other verses how Krishna is the source of even Lord Brahma. We hear about Krishna being the source of everything in the first verse of the Srimad Bhagavatam. But for many people, this might not be apparent. So therefore, this comparison is being made. You know, Narda, he's inquiring like the student, like we said before. So it's like, well, you know, how is this going on if you were doing all this just like a spider is creating everything? And then later we'll hear Brahma's answer. Does this help at all?
Yes, thank you so much.
Okay.
Well, very good. So here we have another question, and we're waiting for the answers. So I don't know if we have more to say on these two verses, or should we go on and add text 6, I think.
Yes, please.
Are you able to do the reading, Amy? I'm
Yes,
not
sure.
sure if you've done.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Please.
Okay. So,
So this is Canto 2, Chapter 5, Text 6.
Naham Veda Param Hi Asmin, Na Param Na Samam Vibho, Nama Rupa Gunair Bhavyam, Sad Asad Kinchit Anyataha. Whatever we can understand by the nomenclature, characteristics, and features of a particular thing, superior, inferior, or equal, eternal, or temporary, is not created from any source other than that of your lordship, thou so great. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada. The manifested world is full of varieties of created beings in 8,400,000 species of life, and some of them are superior and inferior to others. In human society, the human being is considered to be the superior living being, and amongst the human beings, there are also different varieties, good, bad, equal, etc. But Narada Muni took for granted that none of them has any source of generation besides his father, Brahmaji. Therefore, he wanted to know all about them from Lord Brahma.
It's good to reread the text before beginning our own commentaries.
Yeah. Okay, whatever we can understand by the nomenclature, characteristics, and features of a particular thing, superior, inferior, or equal, eternal, or temporary, is not created from any source other than that of your lordship, thou so great. I don't have much to say about that because it does call my attention that they use the qualitative, the adjectives superior, inferior, or equal, eternal, or temporary. And eternal would be the soul, right? The jiva. And temporary would be the body, and inferior would be the plant life and animal life, and superior would be the human beings, which also gives adjectives good, bad, equal, etc. And yeah, it does call my attention to these adjectives. Yes, if Bhakta Rich wants to say something about that, that was all that I had to say. It just called to my attention the adjectives.
Yes, back to Rich.
Thank you, Hare Krishna, Amy. I want to ask about who Narda is talking to in the translation. He says, "Your lordship, thou so great," and then in the purport says he wanted to know all about them from Lord Brahma, but in the verse, the translation, he's saying your lordship with capital Y. So that makes me think he's talking to Krishna. So I'm confused over who he's talking to, Brahma or Krishna or different ones in the verse and the translation.
I think he's still speaking to Brahma. He's just showing him the utmost respect because we haven't gotten to the answer of the questions yet, which is what is beyond Brahma. What has we're at that point where we're asking Brahma about that. So at that point, he is given the full respect, and with maybe the capital letter on the or I think that would be the appropriate answer there. And I also think that this is a very interesting because it's related to the comment that I made a few moments ago, is that basically uh, Krishna or God is the source of everything. Everything, everything, everything. Everything that's good in the world and everything that's bad in the world too. It's all it says it right here. The different varieties, good, bad, equal, everything is Krishna is the source of everything. Our only questions are why and what do we do about certain situations, but we know that it all comes from Krishna. Sometimes we don't even understand the reason for the negative things, but the negative things even have their reasons. There's some kind of karma being played out, and someone dies, for instance, you say, oh, this is terrible, but their karma played out, maybe, oh, the infant's thrown into the water, but that was part of some kind of karmic reaction that we don't understand. So that's why we are here with Narada Muni asking, dear father, you know, please tell us, explain to us what is the source of all of this, even what it is you're doing. It seems that you're doing it all on your own, like a spider who created your own web, but surely there is some superior source for all of this. So, having said that, opening up for more further discussion. Mother Lavanga, maybe?
Um, I don't have too much to add to this verse because I kind of just see it as like a continuation of Narda's point from the last verse. Dressing like Rama, basically all of this is coming from you. So it's kind of going along with the similar point. So not too much to add more than what I've already said. It's just Narda basically expanding a little bit.
Then it's probably good for us to even move forward. Let's see, who hasn't read a verse yet? Bhakti Rich, would you like to read a verse? And Madhuri, Mother Madhuri, would you like to read a verse? that brings us back
Yeah.
to, oh,
Yeah.
yes. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we're up to text 7.
Glory to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna.
Oh, no, 6. 6. I'm sorry. We just discussed the spider. So we're up to
So we are on 7, right?
7. Yes, because
Yeah.
okay. She
Mm-hmm.
just read the 6. Okay, got you. Go
सा
on.
सा भवान् अचरद् घोरं यत्तपा सुसामृता तेनाखेदायसेनस्तत्वं पारासङ्कं च यचासि. Yet we are moved to wonder about the existence of someone more powerful than you when we think of your great austerities and perfect discipline, although your good self is so powerful in the matter of creation. Following in purport by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Following is the footsteps of Sri Narada Muni, one should not blindly accept his spiritual master as God himself. A spiritual master is duly respected on the par with God, but a spiritual master claiming to be the God himself should at once be rejected. Narad Muni accepted Brahma as the supreme due to Lord Brahma's wonderful acts in creation, but doubts arose in him when he saw that Lord Brahma also worships some superior authority. The supreme is supreme, and he has no worshipable superior. The Pasita, or the one who worship himself with the idea of becoming God himself, is misleading, but the intelligent disciple can at once detect that the Supreme God does not need to worship anyone, including himself, in order to become God. Ahangrahopasana Upasana may be one of the process for transcendental realization, but the Ahangrahopasita can never be God himself. No one becomes God by undergoing a process of transcendental realization. Narad Muni thought of Brahmaji as the supreme person, but when he saw Brahmaji engaged in the process of transcendental realization, doubts arose in him, so he wanted to be clearly informed. Hare Krishna.
Very good. Please repeat the
Yeah.
translation. Just remind us. And you could give some comments. If not, we will go on with others. But please reread the
Okay.
verse.
So the translation again, reading it. Yet we are moved to wonder about the existence of someone more powerful than you. When we think of your great austerities and perfect discipline, although your good self is so powerful in the matter of creation. So what I understand is from this purport while reading this is like maybe Narad Muni got a hint that how the Brahmaji's austerities and discipline is. It seems that he also has, he follow a supreme, and he's also not not tagging himself or making himself as a main supreme, and it also talks about the one who worship himself with the idea of becoming God himself is misleading. So it also reflect on the intelligent disciple, which can detect that the supreme God does not need to worship anyone, including himself. And so it also, the last text also highlight when it says that Narad Muni thought of Brahmaji as the supreme person, but when he saw Brahmaji engaged in the process of transcendental realization, doubt arose in him. So he wanted to be clearly informed. So his curiosity, I believe, from in the next verses will be more that how, what is the, a secret of Brahmaji knowing, doing all these devotions and with austerities and the perfect discipline.
Absolutely, and I think the authors of the text must have heard Bhakta Rich's question, because Bhakta Rich's question was answered right here. I mean, Narada Muni thought of Ramaji as the supreme person, before he knew what more. That's why he's there asking, well, what more? Where does all of this come from? Would you like to add any further comment, Bhakta Rich?
Hare Krishna, Yamuna Devidasi. I was just confused about that word, but then I think might have been cleared up for me. Ahangro, Ahangrahopa Sita, that they worship themselves, and this maybe this type of person is a Mayavadi.
Well, Mayavadi is not necessarily worshiping oneself. It's worshiping an energy rather than God as a supreme person. But I think I understand your drift. Would anybody else like to comment on this? Oh, we may need to move forward. How about you, Mother Lalanga?
I can say two things I thought about from this purport. One, similar to what Madhuri Mataji was explaining, that we see Narada Muni's reasoning now for this question, because doubts arose in him when he saw that Lord Brahma um, was also worshiping something superior. And then I like this point that Prabhupada wait, no, hold on, wait, sorry. That's my second point. So we see here that he had some doubts. So he went to Lord Brahma to ask him. So the first point is very practical points. We see that he's showing us what to do when doubts arise in the mind and spiritual life. To go to spiritual master and have these doubts cleared up. This is part of the process of accepting bona fide spiritual master, and Brahmaji acts as spiritual master for Narada Muni. And so therefore Narada Muni goes and he inquires, like this verse in Bhagavad Gita tells us, approach a bona fide spiritual master and inquire submissively unto them, because the self-realized soul can impart all knowledge unto you. And so there's some doubt, so he goes to Lord Brahma. And by approaching, sometimes doubts arise in spiritual life. This is normal, and this should sometimes happen if we're studying very seriously the words of Srila Prabhupada and the words of Shastra. Doubts will naturally arise. We'll see things that might look like contradictions, things that we don't know how to reconcile. But the bona fide spiritual master should be able to remove these doubts in the disciple, and therefore by removing these doubts one has faith. And so I've seen sometimes that people have some doubt about something and they're afraid to approach spiritual master. They're afraid to talk with Guru about it. But the Guru is the ever well wisher. So for Narada Muni, in this particular context, he has some doubts about the situation with Lord Brahma, so therefore he approaches him and inquires. But also we can take this and apply this to our life as well. That part of their relationship with disciple and spiritual master is that the disciple can approach the spiritual master and get all doubts cleared up. And by this, faith increases. Another point that Prabhupada mentions, and that he mentions over and over again, is that the intelligent disciple can where is it? Let me find it so I don't misquote it. One who worships. Oh wait, here. Wait here.
The intelligent disciple can at once detect that the Supreme God does not need to worship anyone, including himself, in order to become God.
Yeah, does not need to worship anyone, including himself, in order to become God. So God is completely self-sufficient. So this idea that one can become God, Prabhupada kicks this out so many times. He'll say, why would you need to go through all these austerities in order to remember that you are God? If you are God, then you are above all of this. And also, and if God and Prabhupada will say, if you ask them, they'll say, oh, this is my Leela. But who, for the fun of it, gets a toothache that they can't control? Why would God start, all these various conflicts all over the world? Why would there be all these various diseases? Why can't we control the different things that happen to us? So therefore, this shows that the living entity, the jiva themselves, they're not God. They're dependent on something, and they're dependent on something superior. So, I like this point also that Prabhupada brings out as well, and you'll see him bring this up. I think he brings it up at least once a chapter, sometimes various times in the chapter. But this is something that gets hammered a lot in Shrimad Bhagavatam, is that the jiva themselves is not God, but they are part and parcel of God.
Yes, Amy?
Hi, thank you. I wanted to add to that, that I was also intrigued by the by the word, sorry, ahang, ahangrahopasita is the word, and it's one who worships himself with the idea of becoming God himself. So, that made me think, I understood what Bhakta Rich was speaking about, the Mayavadis, because it's not that they actually worship themselves, it's more like I think what they do is like practice, whatever they practice is to merge themselves with God. So it's a little bit different, but it's kind of like similar. But it really made me think more of Narcissus, the origin of narcissism, which is looking at himself in the reflection in the water, and he's falling in love with himself, and it has like grandiose, um thinking of himself as godlike. So, because that's kind of like what the explanation was. So that's what it made me think of, obviously.
Very good comments and insights. I would just like to suggest that since text 8 is the last text of all of the questions, as Mother Lavanga pointed out earlier, and we probably don't have much commentary to add to all of the questions, that we just go ahead and read the text 8, and so that next time we can start with text 9 and all the answers. So, we have 8 minutes left. Mother Lavanga, you could, read the verse for us, and then any, closing comments on these concepts that we've discussed today will be welcome.
All right. That's a good idea because text state is also really short. Not even Prabhupada has a whole lot to add on it. All right. Etan me prijata sarvam gya shakaleshvara vigyani shiyata vedam aham bude nushashita. My dear father, you know everything, and you are the controller of all. Therefore, may all I have inquired from you be kindly instructed to me, so that I may be able to understand it as your student. The inquiries made by Narada Muni are very important for everyone concerned, and as such, Narada requested Brahmaji to deem them suitable, so that all others who may come in the line of disciplic succession of the Brahma Sampradaya may also know them properly without any difficulty. Okay. So the one new thing that's being brought up in this question is that Narada Muni doesn't he wants all of this to be instructed to him, but in the purport, in Prabhupada's commentary, we see that this is not just Narada is not just doing this for his own benefit, but he's doing this for the benefit of everybody else that may also come into line, so that they can understand. So it's he's wanting Brahma to explain it, but he's also wanting Brahma to explain it in a way that not just for me, but for everybody. And so by
For
reading
our
this,
benefit, our benefit
for our
too.
benefit, yeah. So, and this is when you look at the qualities of a Vaishnava, there's actually a list of them, and I can't think of, I can't think of I believe this is Nectar of Devotion, but anyway, I can anyway, if you Google it, it'll come up with the text and everything. The different qualities of Vaishnavas. One of them is that they're very compassionate, and we even see this in the attitude of Prahlad Maharaj. You know, when he's talking to Lord Nishingadev, he's telling Lord Nishingadev, you know, I'm not concerned for my own self. You know, I'm always happy. I'm always situated. I'm concerned for others. You know, and he said he even goes on to tell Lord Nishingadev, I don't want to be liberated alone. You know, I want to bring everyone back to your lotus feet. So this is how the Vaishnava is. Um, this is their character. It's not just tell me the secret knowledge. You know, give me the secret mantra so therefore I can become liberated, you know, like some people do. But it's explain this in such a way that not only do I understand it, but everybody that comes after me can understand it. Because of course the Vaishnava, you know, they want knowledge about Krishna. This gives them ecstasy. Tushanti cha ramanti cha. This gives them that satisfaction and bliss. But also they get ecstasy from seeing other people take this up, from seeing other people understand it. And so this is what Narada Muni wants. And this same mood is echoed in Chaitanya Lila and Vasudev Dutt when he tells Lord Chaitanya, you know, that he wants to take the karma of every living entity so that they can ultimately be liberated and go back to Godhead. Of course, Narada Muni is not asking for that here, but the sentiment of wanting to help others, wanting to help others advance. This is the characteristic and this is the quality of a Vaishnava. And this is one of the ways in which one can recognize a Vaishnava is they're not self-motivated, but they also want to see others advance. Also with Dhruva Maharaj, when he was going back to Godhead on the airplane, he thought, my mother, she has to come with me. You know, his Shiksha Guru. He wanted her to go back with him. So that's just one point I wanted to bring up here that is a little bit different. Is here we can also see the mood in which Narada Muni has, and how this is the mood of a Vaishnava, and how we can see this in other places in our Shastra as well. And one of the signs that we are making advancement in spiritual life is that we also have this mood.
Very good. So before I make any closing comments, I would like to know if anybody else has anything to add. Well, I must say, I'm very pleased to see such a tremendous boost in attendance of our Srimad Bhagavatam class, and also the class where Manunatha Maharaj gave the questions and answers was very well attended in comparison to the past, and so we must move forward. Now, next week we're going to have another session like this, and Bhaktin Abi is going to lead. But 2 weeks from now, I hope we will confirm, 2 weeks from now we will have questions and answers. So it's very important for all of us as students to make intelligent questions. And sometimes we just draw a total blank. But as you see in our discussion, even in today's discussion of what we read, there are a few questions came up that are open to further discussion. Now, I could jot down my question and, you know, I can send it along at some point and say, please, at the video conference, can you discuss this topic? And all of you can do that too. You can think of questions from today's class. You can think of questions from next week's class. Or you might have other questions that are unrelated or that come from your other classes or your other studies or some book that you're reading or just something about Vaishnava behavior or etiquette that you want to ask, and you can submit these questions too. And of course, at the conference, you can ask the questions, but the advantage to sending the questions in advance is that we get like a little theme going. So Maharaj has an idea of what it is that we want to talk about, and he can organize his responses in a way to cover all of our topics. And he did a very good job of that at the first class that was not recorded. So we may very well ask him to repeat some of the questions to those, some of the answers to those questions as well in 2 weeks when we hope to have him back. So, in the meantime, I hope to see you all next week for this wonderful study of Srimad Bhagavatam. And I'd like to say, what? Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai. Mananatha Maharaj, Ki Jai.
Yeah, Jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mother Yamuna, for leading today's class. And thank you all for your association. And all glories to Manat Maharaj.
Haribol. We'll see you all next time.